Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health, Hazleton Campus.
Welcome to another edition of Out of Left Field, the show that takes a different look at local sports. I'm Ken Cara, thanks for watching. Well, if you're a local sports fan and you were alive in the early 2000s, you know all about Joy Gallagher and how she killed it on the softball field and the basketball and volleyball courts for the Hazleton Area High School. But did you know she was also killing it in science class? And do you know what she's doing now? Actually, not much has changed. She's still killing it in sports and science, and she's trying to inspire another generation of young women to do the same.
Athleticism is in Dr. Joy Gallagher's DNA. She can explain scientifically how that's possible. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me telling the story, but I'll take a crack at explaining it this way. Gallagher's grandfather played for a state championship with the 1944 Hazleton High School basketball team. Gallagher grew up watching Mountaineers basketball with her family and constantly competing with her older brother Jeff. In high school, she played 3 sports, and in college, she played 2. Now Gallagher is an associate research scientist with the Dow Chemical Company, and she still finds time to compete.
Yeah, I can't hang it up, as they say. So I play in a women's basketball league in Phoenixville, down near where I live, and then there's a women's softball team that I play on, slow pitch, so it's not quite fast pitch. That ship has definitely sailed. And then I play flag football. I golf. I like to stay active. I think that one of the things that I love to do is be on a team. And I think that that's one of the things you kind of, I'm on teams at work, but there's really nothing like being on a sports team. Even as an adult where you're not practicing every day, it's the camaraderie and the friendships that you make they're second to none.
At the first ever Partners in Education Women in Science Spring Symposium in Hazleton, it's easy to picture Gallagher as a coach addressing her team. Right now they're down, but a comeback is definitely possible.
Of all jobs here in the U.S., there are about 50-50 men to women, and in STEM careers, it's about 25% women in STEM careers. You can look at this and say, hey, this looks like a daunting number. Or you can look at it as an opportunity and a challenge that your generation will be the generation that takes this number up. I think we're all here today. You're all talented. And if you have a passion and a drive for science, go for it.
At the Hazleton Area High School, Gallagher hit over 400 for the softball team, scored over 1,400 points for the basketball team, and won a district championship with the volleyball team. She also fell in love with science.
My best games in softball when I was in high school were on the days we did a dissection in Mrs. Ernst's biology class, right? So I had this strong core, so I kept asking on big game days if Mrs. Ernst would let us do, dissect the fetal pig or whatever we were doing that day. So that's really when I found out that I really liked science. I had an affinity for it and an aptitude for it.
Marie Ernst is now the assistant principal at the Hazleton Area Academy of Sciences, and she was thrilled to have her former student as the keynote speaker at this symposium.
But to see an event like today, how much does it mean to you?
It means the world to me. I have 50-50 boys and girls at the STEM school, and I see the girls going into so many traditional science careers. Many of them end up at the end of 4 years of high school not going into science. They end up going into teaching and communication fields, law, business fields, which are all great, but so many of them don't end up becoming scientists. So I'm really thrilled that we're doing something today that is showing them that women really can do these wonderful things in science. They can overcome great obstacles, and they can compete in what is a man's world of science.
I think there is something so powerful in seeing someone who looks like you, in whatever way that may be, achieving something you maybe didn't think was possible. Or just having that person taking a path that may be less traditional. or less expected, and saying, oh, well, I guess I can too.
Gallagher was an ESPN Academic All-American at Wagner College, where she played Division I basketball and softball. She scored over 1,000 points for the basketball team and hit over 300 for the softball team. She also earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry and a master's in business administration. She got her PhD in organic chemistry from Penn State University. The hall was packed for Gallagher's speech. Students from the Hazleton area, Crestwood, and Weatherly area school districts listened to her intently. Gallagher spoke about happiness, about potential, and not letting anything get in the way of your dreams.
So a baseball player, a basketball player, a football player, and a Barbie doll. What do these 4 things have in common? Well, this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. When I went in preschool, I stood up on the stage and I said, I think I had rehearsed the first 3, and I threw in the Barbie doll because I was an avid Barbie doll collector. So unrealistic, yes, all of these. In the mid-'80s, there was no WNBA, so I couldn't be a basketball player. Baseball, A League of Their Own hadn't even been released yet, so there wasn't even a thought of professional women's baseball. And football, I guess there might be some professional football leagues out there, but the one thing that those 3 things have in common is that they're pretty much male-dominated fields. So at the young age of, I guess, what was I, Mom, 6, 5, I thought I could be a football player or a baseball player. And I think that thought and that belief at that age is a current that has taken me through the rest of my life as a scientist. There's never been a moment that I thought, oh, well, there's 3 other guys in the class, or I'm not sure if I can do this because I'm a girl. No, you know what? I know I can do it because I'm qualified, I'm driven, I'm passionate, and I will be prepared to work just as hard.
Gallagher is the answer to this equation. During her time in Little League, she was one of only 2 girls on a roster for Valley West Little League in Cunningham. You already know she played basketball, and in college she won a flag football championship. As for the Barbie doll,
and then I did find this is Scientist Barbie. So I think I've hit all of those things, which I'm pretty proud of. I wouldn't necessarily lobby for anyone becoming a Barbie doll in this room.
Gallagher put up some serious numbers in high school and college in athletics and academics, but she says that if she reached just 1 young woman on this day, she's happy. Just based on her past success, we're going to say she inspired many to consider a career in a STEM field.
Coming up next, we go to a football camp with 2 former NFL players.
Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazleton Campus.
Thank you for coming back for another inning of Out of Left Field. Lamont White was in the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings. He also had a career in the Canadian Football League. He holds a lot of camps at the Greater Hazleton YWCA with his friend and College Football Hall of Famer, Major Harris. I showed both of them what Penn State missed out on by not recruiting me.
Gotta get down a little lower. There you go. Go.
I'm here with former NFL football player Lamont White, and Lamont White does a bunch of football camps here in the Hazleton area. And Lamont, if you had to pick a favorite college football player of all time, who would you pick?
Rod Woodson.
And why is that?
Played different positions and was a team player, worked hard. Then it wasn't all about him, so he was one of my best players.
So Rod Woodson, my favorite of all time, Michael Robinson, Penn State quarterback. I'm bringing all this up because you know who's also in my top 10? I'm a Penn State fanatic. Major Harris, who's actually right here with us. And Major, that's a compliment. I mean, Major went to West Virginia, and the fact that I have a non-Penn State player in my top 10 is absolutely crazy. I've looked. You need to. I mean, this is a Heisman Trophy finalist, All-American. You're in College Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
All right. Also that, so I mean that the Major Harris has all these credentials, and I watched a YouTube video of you just shredding my Nittany Lions, which was just incredible. But you come to these camps as well, and what do you guys try to do when you get the kids here? And what are you trying to do in I guess a short amount of time? You have a few hours.
Well, just go over like a lot of the fundamentals of football and basically give back, you know what I mean? As you get older, you kind of get away from football unless you coaching and stuff like that. So it gives us a chance to give back, and you know what I mean, and just get the sweat going and just talking football.
And Lamont, what are some of the drills you got? What do you guys want to do with me today? I mean, what are we going to do? Do you have a plan? I mean, do I know what's happening?
Well, we got a good plan for you.
Okay.
We're gonna do a little route tree.
Okay.
And when I run a route, you're running after me. Just about 4 or 5 different routes, stuff like that. Stuff that we do teach with the kids. So.
All right, here we go.
Good.
Do the face.
Too far. He went too far.
Oh, all right.
I want you to do it till you catch it.
Yeah, all right. All right, we might be here all night till the camp tomorrow. So I say hi.
Yeah. Both of you.
Hey! How was my footwork, Lamont, when I kind of got off the line? How was that?
No, well, you gotta kind of stay, like what you did, you kind of rounded off.
Okay. So like, because when you moved, you came up here like this, and you used to play defensive back, right?
Yeah.
How hard was that to defend when someone's coming at you and they make that quick move?
Well, I used to do when it's something like that, I would press a lot, and I was a big corner. So a lot of the receivers.
Why am I where you are? You go over here where you would have been.
No, I'm saying.
So if I come out and all of a sudden someone makes a fast move,
I'm gonna make sure I move.
Okay.
Keep my hands on you, stuff like that. That's why I always play like up pressed a lot.
Got it.
I always press. I kind of very seldom play too far off because stuff like that, quick passes, you want to try to defend that, push them inside, stuff like that. So.
Got it. Do you see how heavy I'm breathing? I'm not this out of shape. Do you know how nerve-wracking it is to catch a pass from a Hall of Fame quarterback? Okay. Now I think I'm calmed down a little.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, my bad throw. My fault.
Don't round it off though.
Let's round it off.
Don't round it off. You going around.
Okay.
You going around. You want to go towards me. You want to break down, go towards me.
Did that mess you up when I did that?
No. That was a bad throw. But you could have made me look good if you would have slid and caught it, though.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
And
I might have played football if these guys were in Hazleton back then. I would have had a whole other story. There's so much timing. How long could it possibly take to get a play to go right when you're working on something?
Well, it all depends on the timing, or it all depends on the route. Because say if you're just throwing deep, whatever time it takes to go deep. But if you run in the slant, it's happening quick, you know what I mean? Now with the dig route, that's what they call that route, a dig route. A lot of times, that's the secondary, that's the second option, you know what I mean? You're looking somewhere else, then as the linebacker spread or drop, then the dig come open, you know what I mean? So it all depends on the route.
Let me ask you while I have you here, when am I gonna have this opportunity? I'm sorry, then we'll get in the drill. Lamont be like making me do laps from the camp. You had all these options when you're out there, you're a mobile quarterback. Because you always hear sometimes maybe quarterbacks choose too early or too late to move. When did you say, all right, I gotta go? Did you just have that instinct?
Well, a lot of times I always said a game within the game. Sometimes I would drop back knowing they might got a end that rush hard, so I'm going to drop back and I know I'm going to move just to throw him off. Because as an end, it gets frustrating coming hard and the quarterback moving. He's not back at the where you think he's supposed to be. So now he's going to start rushing, hesitating, and then now I can drop back and throw. So it's a game within the game.
Major, how much did that help you in your life? Because it seems like you're doing 90 million things in your head and you got to do checklists. Did that help you in your life?
Yeah,
it
definitely helped because you really can be like stubborn in one way. You know what I mean? You got to kind of be flexible because everything ain't going to go your way all the time. You know what I mean?
Okay, go.
Hey! There you go.
How do you guys, so I dropped a bunch of passes. How do you keep encouraging the kids when they're here? I've seen some younger kids to be like, hey, you gotta to keep running them through the reps.
Yep.
One thing I notice a lot of times, a kid give up, like how when it's coming, and he don't want to put his all into it because he still might drop it. But a lot of times by missing that's practice, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you got to stay focused all the way through the end. But a lot of kids, I ain't going to catch it. So at the last moment, they take their eye off the ball, you know what I mean? They're going to drop it anyway. So a lot of times you just got to fight through that to gain confidence. Even if you drop the next one, you still got to learn from that, you know what I mean? And eventually it should come.
Well, now I'm playing left defensive back now.
Okay.
Now this is my specialty.
All right.
So what I want to do if I got a receiver like you, I want to make sure I stay inside. I always want to stay inside, especially when we playing different coverages. If I got help, safety over the top, I always teach my defensive backs to stay inside. So you being a receiver, Major gonna have you go whatever route you're gonna run. I'm just gonna stay inside. Okay?
All right, so I can run any of the routes that I chose.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I'm just staying inside. I'm gonna let you go.
All right. Go.
If I got help, there you go. There you go.
It's hard throwing to a 5'5" guy.
No, now see on that, if he's sitting on your route, you'll come back to the coach, he's sitting on my route, so now we gotta probably go deep just to back him up, loosen him up a little bit, you know what I mean? Because if he's sitting on routes, then he's sitting on that curl, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So in a sense, now you probably come back, coach, he's sitting on that, so now we gotta throw something deep to loosen him up.
Now I'm gonna press you now. Okay. Like when I mean press you, I'm not gonna try to get you off the line. I ain't gonna do it. I'm just gonna let you go.
You can knock me over. That's all good. Yeah.
I ain't gonna do that. Now I'm pressing you now.
Okay.
Now it's gonna be you.
Go.
See what I'm saying? Now
Yeah.
I got you.
So I'm on the line here. Can you press me again?
Okay.
Do it as hard as you were doing it before.
No, I'm gonna-
So I'm here. How much of this battle in the game don't you think people realize
Man, this is-
that we're watching the quarterback and the pressure, but
See, if Major being a quarterback and I press you like that, he gonna have to look away now. Cause I pressed on you. He gotta go somewhere else now. That's very important when I try to teach the defensive backs about that. Make sure you get your hands on them. You gotta get your hands on the receiver. The rest of the timing and everything.
Major's definitely in my top 5. I was joking earlier. I mean, this might be the reason he never gets to number 1. Again, look up that. I was going to try to recreate, even I brought the white jersey. This was kind of, look at it. He has no chance. No chance. It was just like this, getting Major Harris. But definitely the top 5, just because I always say this. You're one of the nicest guys. It's hard to believe, and both of you guys, you're around such greatness, and they're right here in the Hazleton area. Well, I'm going to tell you, I did learn a lot today. I was going to tell this story. When I played for Bishop Aphey High School, I ran one play. I was so intimidated. I was like, I will never do football again. You guys make it fun. They will make you feel comfortable. I have a ball every time I'm with you, and they will teach you a lot. So next time, check out the Lamont White Football Camp and look up this play. Just a Major Harris versus Penn State. I forget what year. You're going to want to watch it. It's priceless, and great guy to boot. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, a local pastor shows off his unique card collection.
Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazleton Campus.
Welcome back to Out of Left Field. If you attend Mass at Good Shepherd Church in Drums and pick up a bulletin, you'll notice there's a sports trivia question in there every week. The man who provides them is the church's pastor, and you'll see he definitely knows his sports.
Father Connell McHugh can tell you the difference between a white border and gold border baseball card from the early 20th century. The gold borders have statistics while the white borders do not. He'll let you know that a lot of early baseball cards were distributed by the Lancaster Caramel Company right here in Pennsylvania. There's a sense of pride when he talks about his home state, the Keystone State. Players from Northeast Pennsylvania make up a large part of his unique collection of cards, a collection that started in the 1950s.
I started like just any other boy and with the 1952 Topps set, which is one of the most valuable, but I only had a few packs of them. I had them, and I missed the Mickey Mantle, the one that's going for so many million in mint condition. I got a Jim Busby, it's 309, and Mantle's 311, so I just missed getting a Mickey Mantle. I collected then, I would say, till around 1958 or so, when I was about 12, 13 years old. And when I was preparing to go to the seminary, I had a suitcase full of cards, and I gave them to my next door neighbor.
One day that neighbor came back to town to visit his sister, and he gave the suitcase filled with cards back to McHugh, reigniting his passion. I don't know if Father still has that suitcase, but let's say he does, and let's take a peek inside at his beloved collection. Any card story worth its weight in free bubblegum starts with Mickey Mantle.
The Beatles said they were more popular than Jesus Christ, which is ridiculous, but they're not even close to Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle is the most demand card of anybody, even Babe Ruth, even though his were in the 1930s and that, and then 20s, some of the early ones, but Mickey Mantle is by far the most expensive collectible, most popular collectible of any person.
McHugh has a few mantles.
My uncle, I would not take money for settling the estate of his daughter, and he knew about cards from me. He used to ask me all about cards, so because I wouldn't take money, he sent me all these cards, and a lot of them were Mickey Mantles and all. That's so unbelievable.
No one would pass on a Mickey Mantle, but Father does like to look for players from Northeast Pennsylvania. To search for players, he uses baseball encyclopedias, his memory, and sometimes other people's personal stories.
Here's one that's very unusual, very difficult to find. This is Brad Coker, he was from Whitehaven, and he played, short stints, 1912 and 14 and 15. He was a catcher, and then he played in the Canadian League. And this is a Canadian card, Imperial Tobacco, 1912 Imperial Tobacco card. Brad Coker in Whitehaven. He died in Whitehaven too. Actually took, when I was pastor of Whitehaven 10 years, I actually took communion calls to one of his relatives.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you tell them that you had the card, or?
I didn't have it at that time.
Okay.
See, that's how I got to know about him.
While Mickey Mantle usually bats leadoff in most people's collections, here's where McHugh starts on this day.
This is a man called Chris Fullmer. He was born in Tamaqua and died in Tamaqua in 1931. He's the first player from this area to be in a major set. It's called 1887 gold coin, and it was produced in 87, and it's a graded card, and I did get it. You'd never see it on eBay. The tobacco company put it out, and it's a nice condition considering how old it is. But that's Chris Fullmer. He caught in the majors for about 6 years, and then he played in Canada. He's also credited by quite a few people with inventing the primitive catcher's mitt when he played with the Baltimore Orioles.
He's not the only inventor in McHugh's collection.
So there's Danny Litweiler too, of course, comes from the 40s. He's the one who developed the radar gun and the dirt for drying infield. He had a type of substance to dry the infield. But Danny Litweiler is from Ringtown and a graduate of Bloomsburg University, one of their esteemed graduates. Very intelligent man.
And he played as well, and you have his card.
I played, I believe, from 1940 to 51. He came up with the Philadelphia Phillies. In his career, he's a nice hitter. He's like a 280 some hitter and fairly decent power. He had about 85 or 90 home runs in his career. Danny Litweiler from Ringtown. He also coached some famous players. He would coach for Florida State and Michigan State, and he had Steve Garvey and Kurt Gibson among his proteges. Very intelligent person.
Danny Litweiler also played with Jackie Robinson.
But there was a lot of racism, and the first game that the Dodgers were going to play with Cincinnati, they had Danny Litweiler appear with Jackie Robinson to make it kind of soften it that he's coming to the city to play, and with Danny Litweiler give him credibility and all this. So they had Danny Litweiler talk with Jackie Robinson, hopefully to prevent any kind of racial outbreak.
There's a lot of cards here with a lot of different stories, but here's McHugh's favorite.
Ed Walsh, this is a white border from 1909. He has the lowest earned run average in the history of baseball at 1.82.
Wow.
And he's the last man to win 40 games, and several times he pitched over 400 innings, and they burned out his arm in 7 years. He won 195 games, and had a good record, and he had around 60 shutouts too. Ed Walsh.
And where's he from? Is he low?
He's Plains.
Plains?
There's
okay,
a plaque on the highway up there for him.
Okay.
Put up in the last 10, 15 years.
Is it on 81 or?
And up the Plains had the, what do you call it, the expressway?
Oh, like the Cross Valley.
Cross Valley Express. He had an earned run average under 2 one year where he lost 20 games. He didn't have a winning. He was with a bad hitting team, the Chicago White Sox. But they upset the Cubs in the 1906 series, and he won 2 of the games. But Hall of Famer, Ed Walsh, a great player.
Steve Bilko from Nanticoke didn't make the Hall of Fame, but he made history in another way.
You know who really liked him were the actors.
Oh, really?
They had so many, like 50 home runs a couple of times in the Pacific Coast League. A show actually was named because of him. Phil Silver's Sergeant Bilko.
Okay.
That's what he named it after, Steve Bilko.
And no local collection would be complete without this guy.
Joe Madden, the only time he appears on a baseball card as a player, 76. It's a valuable card now. He's a catcher, and it says he's a graduate of Lafayette. He played for the Quad City Angels.
Leo Durocher is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Played in the 1940s, and he said baseball is like church. Many attend, few understand. Father McHugh gets both, and he's trying to make sure many others get the message.
We've reached the final whistle. If you like this episode, don't rush the field. Just go to facebook.com/SSPTV shows and tell us. Plus, watch past episodes at ssptv.com. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.